Hi everybody, I'm going to be making a pork rib soup today, and I'm telling you, it tastes every bit as good as it smells. The ingredients I'm going to be using, or the amount of ingredients, is going to be a generous serving for 2 people. So if you fancy a really hearty meal, soup should I say, then keep watching. So for this soup supreme we have new potatoes, carrots, red onion, you can use white onion, it doesn't matter, corn on the cob and broccoli. I got a set of pork ribs from the butcher's. The only thing I'll say about these is you want to cut them into like sections because we're going to have small chunks, okay? So what you want to do is if you get the rib like that, you want to really ask the butcher to cut it up for you, unless you've got a really good chopping knife, which I don't, but I managed all anyway. I've boiled the kettle and I'm going to put some hot water in this bowl, and I'm also going to measure out 1 litre of boiling hot water in my measuring jug. The reason I put hot water in this bowl is what's called blanching the meat. Basically it's going to take away the blood and impurities that are in the meat and disperse them into the water. It'll also make the broth less cloudy. People have different ways of blanching the meat. Some say you would put it in cold water, then heat it up until it's hot. But everybody has their own special, particular way of doing it. I'm going to do these in hot water, but I'm not going to keep the meat in here for any more than 5 minutes so they don't lose any of their goodness. And that 1 litre of boiling water, we're now going to put into a sizable pan. Right, I'll pop the lid on here and I'm going to bring the water back to the boil. The water in our pan is nearly boiling, so I'll just give these a little bit of a prod. You can see how red that water's become now. Okay, cooking time. So I'm going to empty this water out. There we go. Just in the nick of time. Just started to boil. Okay, I shall drop our spare ribs into the boiling water. There, put the lid back on. What I'm going to do is I will now bring this back to the boil and we're going to simmer for 20 minutes. I guess I'll start off with the old carrot. I'm just going to cut the ends off, and using my old peeler we'll take the top layer of the skin off the carrot. If you don't do that it's going to be bloody horrible because it'll be like a biting into a rubber boot. So always peel the top layer off the carrot. And now just chop the carrots up into slices. However thick you want these carrots is entirely up to you. You can have thin slices or you can have thicker slices. Depends what you like really. So we'll get that all chopped up. I shall pop all these carrot slices into a bowl of cold water. That'll just keep them good while I'm cutting up the rest of the vegetables. Same thing for the new potatoes. I'm just going to peel the skin off. And I'll tell you something, these potatoes are absolutely gorgeous when they're boiled. Now the peeling's done, I'm just going to chop them all in half. And I'm going to pop them in the water with the carrots. The reason you're putting them in the water, if you leave the potatoes in the air, they'll go brown, so that will keep them from going off while we're waiting. I'll just give our sweet corn a little bit of a wash underneath the cold tap, get the little bits of string and stuff off it. Once again you need a good chopping knife, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this sweet corn into sections, and you need a pretty good knife to sort of like chop through it like that without cutting your fingers off. There. As for our red onion, all I'm going to do is chop off both ends where they've got like the root bit, get them out of the way. Now all I really want to do is cut off the outer layer that's all hard and horrible. So I'll remove all that. There, till we've basically got the inner part of our onion. And we're just going to dice this into 4 pieces. Wata, like that. Okay, we're 10 minutes into cooking. Oh, I'll tell you what, that pork smells absolutely lovely. I'll just give it a quick little stir and let it carry on. And while that meat is simmering, you can go read a cookbook or have a drink. Cheers. Righty-ho, that's its 20 minutes up. So I'm just going to put the sweet corn in. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to simmer that sweet corn with the meat for another like 10 to 15 minutes. I've had the sweet corn simmering now with the meat for about 12 minutes. So I'll just remove the water from our potatoes and carrots. Just before I stick our potatoes and carrots in there, I just want to check the meat, because by now it should be getting really tender. If you've got like a little bamboo stick it would be better, but I haven't got one, so I'm going to use a fork. I'm just prodding the meat a little bit just to see how soft it is. It's not too bad, but what we ideally want is at the end of this for the actual meat to be almost falling off the bone. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's stick our potatoes and carrots in there. Drop the old onion in as well. And I'm going to use 1 beef OXO cube as stock. You could just drop the whole thing in, but I'm going to crumble it up and just sort of like disperse it throughout the water. But it will dissolve in the water anyway. Okay, I'll give it a little bit of a stir. get it all mixed in good and proper. Get our OXO cube stock well dispersed in the water. Look at that, wow, it smells good. Right, I'll stick the lid on. And we're going to let that simmer for a further 10 to 15 minutes. I've got a nice piece of broccoli here. What I should do, I should cut off some broccoli florets. And I'm not going to have these too big. I'm going to sort of like cut them into small little sections, about that. And I don't know, it's entirely up to you how many of these you want to have, but I would suggest having like 8 or 9 of these florets at least. I'm just going to add 1 teaspoon of table salt to a bowl of cold water, and I'm going to put our broccoli in that cold water. The reason for the table salt, it's going to like cleanse the chemicals off the broccoli. Because you know when these things are in the farmer's fields and they've been sprayed with pesticides and God knows what, well, the salt water will help to clean it. So I'll just give them a good mix up in there and we'll leave them for 5 minutes. Our 15 minutes are up. So last but not least, I'll stick in the old broccoli. I'll give that a good stir in, make sure it's all covered in water. What we're going to do is, we're going to cook the broccoli for like no more than 5 minutes. The reason for that, if you cook the broccoli too long, it'll just fall to pieces. So we don't want that to happen. It all depends what your taste is actually. For me personally, I like the broccoli a little bit hard, a little bit firm and crunchy. So I won't cook it for too long. And for our final ingredient, a pinch of ground black pepper. There goes our little pinch of pepper. I'll give it a quick stir and that's it. It's cooked. Time to serve it. And I'll tell you what, it's looking absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I'm going to enjoy this meal. So I shall just scoop this straight into a bowl. There we go. Make sure we get plenty of the sweet corn, carrots, potatoes, broccoli, and not forgetting we want plenty of the broth in there as well. Oh, it's looking absolutely gorgeous, and I'll tell you what, it smells, it's divine. Well, this is it, the moment of truth. Yeah, that meat is literally falling off, falling off the bone. You know what? Oh, when the meat is cooked just right, it kind of falls to pieces in your mouth, and it's not like something you just chew on. It just disintegrates and slides down your throat. It's bloody lovely when you cook it properly. But yeah, I would say when you are cooking this, especially the meat, keep checking it to make sure that meat is nice and tender, because the last thing you want is it to be chewy and hard. And in this case, mwah, it's absolutely perfect. So I'm going to try the broccoli. I've overcooked the broccoli, I'd say, by 2-3 minutes. It doesn't take long to cook the broccoli. But there again, it depends how you like it. Whether you like it hard or whether you like it soft. Let's see what the carrot's like. Well cooked. And the potato, they just love it. They just carves through. Them potatoes are really nice. And the old sweet corn. Oh yeah. That's good. And what you do, once you've sort of like eaten everything in here, what you do with the juice, you get your old knife and fork like that, like this Chinese style. And you drink the juice. Mwah, mamma mia. Anyway, I'm going to have this meal now because it's bloody lovely and it smells great. So if you fancy making this, I swear to God, it is one gorgeous meal to have. You haven't got to make it every night of the week, obviously, but sort of like you make something like this once in a while, you'll be glad you made it because it really is great. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. Have a good one, and I'll see yous in the next one. Adios.